What is up, Everyday Athlete Podcast Network listeners? I have a great guest for you to listen to today. Alex Hermanson is joining me, also known as Herm Runs. I'm sure you all know him, and if you don't, you'll know him by the end of this conversation. But before I bring him on, we got to do this stuff. I hate doing it. It seems so contrived. But subscribe, rate, review, comment on this episode in the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network. It really helps us get great guests like Alex onto the show and into your earbuds, which then allows us to go and get other great guests because they're like, man, that was a great conversation, or at least I hope they will be. So anyhow, do us a favor, subscribe, rate, review the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network on your favorite podcast platform or on YouTube. I really appreciate that. So that will be the shortest introduction you hear from me in a long time. Let's bring Alex onto the show and let's have a great chat. By the way, I referred to you in with your first name, but on the social platforms, you go by Herm Run. So which do you prefer?
Oh, you can call me anything you want. The government name or the fun one. Whatever comes off the tongue works best.
All right. Well, growing up, my nickname was Baja.
Okay.
And so I'll go with Herm because it's literally the shortened version of your last name, and Baja is the shortened version of my last name.
I love it. All right, Baja, let's get going.
Get going. All right. Icebreaker question that I love asking people. You're an East Coaster, so I'll be very interested in hearing the answer to this. Pineapple on pizza, yay or nay?
Literally never. That is disgusting.
We're BFFs already.
Yeah, no, you'll never find me with pineapple. So I'll take no pineapple.
Yeah, not a chance. I'm with you. Every now and again, we'll get somebody who'll say yes.
Oh.
Yeah. But then I have to ask them, like, is it pineapple with ham or pepperoni or bacon? And so they're like, oh, yeah, it has to have jalapenos and all these other
Right.
And I'm like, so you don't really like pineapple on pizza.
You just like the texture of pineapple, which I get, but like you're covering it with everything else that has much more flavor. No, I don't even like pineapple personally in general.
Really?
No, I'm not a fan. I've just never been into the pineapple thing. So if you ever bring me like one of those fun fruity drinks and we're on a beach, just don't have pineapple in it.
Pina coladas are out.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the more serious question that opens up avenues for us to start exploring. Who is Herm?
Oh, geez. Where do you want me to start? Herm is a middle-aged dog who likes to sleep a lot, run a little bit, and eat a lot of food. And yeah, have a good time doing all those things.
Define what's a good time, because look, we do hard things, right? We're running long time for long hours, long miles, like that's hard. But is that a good time?
Yeah, that is considered a good time. I think that there's kind of two ways you can approach the things that we do, right? You could either put your head down and really grind and like, hunt PRs and hunt, the best performance you could possibly have, or you can approach it the way that I do, which is just as long as you are having fun with what you're doing, whether that involves running in circles or, skipping or dancing in the streets, that is the best way to approach these really difficult things that we do. So I personally don't take this running thing all that serious. I think the work is incredibly serious. I think that you really have to put your head down and work towards growing and having the growth to be able to do the hard things. But when it actually comes to doing the hard things, if I put all of my eggs in one basket and was very disappointed or mad at the times that I ever put up, I would have zero fun with this stuff anymore, and that would bum me out. And I wouldn't be talking to you today. I wouldn't still be running. I would be a miserable sad sack who took something way too seriously for a year and got burnt out incredibly quickly.
That's a great answer, because I fall under that same umbrella. But I will ask you this, because when I first got started in these sports, my uber competitiveness was at 58 out of 10, and I was hunting the PRs and let me go do this and let me go do that and make sure that I'm the best that there could ever be, kind of thing. When you got into the sport of running, did you start out with this mindset of it's a hard thing to do, but I'm going to have fun with it? Or were you, I'm going to be competitive at this because I want to run X number of miles a month and at a certain pace and, marathons at whatever time frame they need to be finishing in your mind? Like, how did you start?
No, I've sucked at running since the day I was born. Like, and I still do. I'm no good at this stuff still. I never once, you know what? I think this is why I'm so attracted to running, because if I were an adult and I did this, I like got really into golf when I played college baseball, and then the pandemic hit and I got really into golf, and I realized rather quickly I'm like a very above average golfer. I'll give myself some kudos there. Like I'm very good at golf. So when I started showing up to the course, I had to be the best on the course that day. Nobody could be better than me. And I don't want to say I became uber competitive because nobody would have ever known around me, but in my head I had to be the absolute best out there. And it'd be the same if I went to pick up hockey or if I joined a men's league baseball team right now. I would not be able to have fun with it the way that I do running, because I know where I have been in my life at those sports and where I could be if I like really worked at it as an adult. Running, man, oh my God, I suck so bad at this stuff that it's like as good as I ever get, I think I'll only ever get to the middle of the pack, which I'm so cool with. And it gives me
Yeah,
that freedom to like just have it as a hobby. Yeah, it's a hobby that
right.
I'm highly and horribly addicted to, and that if I don't do it nearly every day, I go a little bit crazy. But it's one that I recognize my limits with. Whereas if I got back into golfing and I wasn't shooting like in the 60s in the first 3 weeks,
Dude,
I would,
that's way above average golfer, dude. Like
yeah, no,
the
like
average
I
pro
got
is shooting 100.
right. So like I got really good at it, man. Like the thing about golf though, that's so funny is like people. I saw an interesting video actually today that was like, what sport has the biggest gap from college to the pros? Because people don't realize the gaps between college and pros in anything. Anyone who thinks like Alabama football could beat the Browns is absolutely
Right.
freaking insane. But
Correct.
nobody talks about the jump from college golf to pro golf, and it's the same at amateur golf to pro golf. You do not realize how good you have to be. So yeah, sure, I can go to a local muni and shoot a 68 and be the freaking tits out there. But as soon as
Are you shooting 68 from the tips? From the
yeah, I'll play it
blacks?
from the tips. I play
Yeah.
along, so like I'm
Yeah.
a big dude who's pretty strong, and I've swung things my entire life. So the 300 330 drive was in my bag when
Gotcha.
I started the sport, which very much helped. But like, sure, I can go do that at the Muni. Get me on course at the like a professional event, and I'm the like I look like I've never seen a golf course in my life. So that's why it's like fun to chase those dreams, or was when I was like playing really well. But man, it was like chasing something that you'll just never. It's like a dog in a tail. I'll never
Yeah.
catch that tail.
One of the words you used in the conversation just now was the word hobby. And I use that to define running for myself too. I've been doing this for 19 years and it's a hobby, right? I do find, and I wonder if you see this when you post on, because you have a large following and you're an influencer in the running space, where you're talking about enjoying it, have fun, smile, right? Do all the things that keep you coming back out the next day. Have you gotten any comments on there like you should be running harder or faster, or I can't believe you've been running this long and you're still finishing in the back of the pack? Like any of those kind of negative comments come floating through on your side of the social media platforms?
All the time. Like way too frequently. People care so much about how fast I run. It's so stupid. It's like the least interesting thing that I talk about on my platform. Like genuinely, I think there's like a really good area in between where it's like on one hand, I think people are really stoked that I'm getting faster because I am. I've taken so much time off of every distance I've run. But at the same time, there's people that are like, why aren't you running sub four yet? Why aren't you running like 330 yet? And I'm like, dude, like relax. Like I don't need to do these things to appease myself. If running sub 33, like if I get 330 at some point in my life, that would be super rad, sure. But I hope it comes naturally, and I hope I still love this stuff when that day comes. The one that was coming to me a lot, and not so much as much frequently, or not as frequently now, but probably about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, people were asking like, dude, you run all these miles. And I was running over 1,000 miles from the first year I started in a year, but it was like, why aren't you losing weight? I'm like, dude, what? Like, what does this have to do with me being able to cover a lot of distance? And like at the same time, I can tell you I am not losing. I'm eating 4 Big Macs when I finish my 20-mile run. Like that wasn't something that I didn't start this thing to lose weight. I started this thing because I really fell in love with moving my body, and running was like the first outlet I had that actually felt pretty healthy in a long time. So yeah, sure, I didn't lose some weight for a little while. That also doesn't really affect your life at all. So,
That's it.
let me go and eat my 4 Big Macs at a time. Now, I've figured out my diet a little bit. I'm not quite eating 4 Big Macs after a 20-mile run, but like, you know what? If that's the thing that keeps me sticking around, then I'm gonna keep freaking doing it.
Yeah, like we just finished doing the Salt Lake City Foothills half marathon, and one of the first things I was looking for was an Impossible Whopper. Like I want to have an Impossible Whopper right now. I had two
Yep.
slices of pizza and 3 donuts instead, but hey, close enough in that manner.
Yeah, at that point, you're just looking for anything. Your body's craving it,
Yeah,
and also like if you're gonna hold yourself back from eating food that sounds really good after you have a really tough effort, then man, I think that people are always trying to compare running to therapy, but I think like some real therapy there might
one
go a long way.
100%, right? Like running is therapeutic. It is not therapy. If
Hmm.
you need therapy, go find a therapist. Don't go to your
Hmm.
local running shoe store. Like it's
Yeah,
really that simple.
buying a new pair of shoes is not going to help you talk through your issues. As someone who goes to therapy very regularly, I can confirm and wears a lot of different shoes. One of those things will help a lot
Right.
more than the other.
I wanted to ask you because you mentioned it a little bit earlier about getting into the sport, and you started out with 1,000 miles, and it was a form of movement that helped you. And so the question I was thinking of was like, so what was the catalyst to get you into running, and what did you know about running before you put on your first pair of running shoes?
Yeah, I mean, this whole thing started because of my girlfriend. At the time, so I was golfing like a ton, and I was in the worst shape of my entire life. I weighed 310 pounds. I was golfing every day. I was getting hammered on the golf course every day. I was still smoking cigarettes. Like, it was horrible. I was absolutely terribly out of shape. And meanwhile, my girlfriend, who's probably going to walk through this door in like the next 3 minutes, so you might need to make a quick edit. She
No edits.
was
We go
training.
full live, baby.
All right, perfect. She
Yep.
was training for the New York City Marathon at the time, and just a couple months earlier, she was living in London at the time, and she went and ran her first half marathon. And I flew to London because I was like, she is going to die doing this half marathon. No human should run 13.1 miles. That's absolutely insane. I couldn't fathom it. So I flew over there because I'm like, this might be the last time I genuinely ever see her. I wish I was joking. I was that concerned. She finished the half. She crushed it. She ran like a 1:45 first ever half marathon. She's remarkable. And so she starts training for the New York City Marathon, gets it in the lottery, her first go at it. Like,
Wow.
bravo. This is 2022, so we're not quite into the depths of the running boom yet, but still pretty tough to get in. And so she's training for this race this whole time, and I'm just being a complete ass to her. Like, why are you going on these long runs? Like, you could be doing something better with your life. And I was very, very mean to her, and I've apologized so much ever since, obviously. And so the day that the marathon came around, we went out and watched her. And I can't tell you how many times I cried on the course that day, just watching people accomplish their dreams right in front of my eyes. And so we get to our final cheer zone at mile 24, which is right up Fifth Ave, which is like unbeknownst the hardest part of the race. People will talk about the Queensboro Bridge all day long. Fifth Ave is the hardest part of the New York City Marathon. So we're cheering for her, and I'm breaking down and crying one more time. And I turn to my best friend and I say, "Man, I'm gonna do this race next year. I'm gonna do it." And he laughs at me. He's like, "Bro, you're not doing this next year." Like, I can't blame him. I was not in shape to run a marathon, but it was seeing every other person. My girlfriend's a beautiful, tall, 6 foot girl who has a six pack and is incredible shape. I'm not that I'm not inspired by her, but like she looks like she could run a freaking fast marathon. But it was all of
Right.
the other people, all of the other guys that looked like me. They were normal looking human beings. And I was like, oh, wait, these are some normal looking people running a marathon. If they can do it, I think that I could get my ass in shape just enough over the next 365 days to cross that finish line. So next day I went out, bought my first pair of running shoes, and went for it was like 1.3 miles in 36 minutes or something like that. Kicked my ass. It was one of those, run 12 steps, take a lot of really deep breaths, walk for a little bit, try it all over again. And I got home, and then I made a promise to myself that I would just do some form of movement every single day, like from there. And luckily, Alexis got really into watching Kofuzi at the time, who's like now one of my dearest friends, which is like the coolest thing on earth. And she would watch his live stream. He was doing it every day at the time. And so she'd be watching it on the TV while I worked, and I would just tune in, just listen in. And so I learned so much about running and running shoes and running technology, just, without truly paying attention, but just kind of hearing it out of the corner of my ear. So I took kind of all of that information, gathered it, and understood that, to start this thing, I need to do a lot of walking. I need to do a lot of slow movement. I shouldn't jump into some kind of training program necessarily, maybe like a C to 5K, but just go outside and just start walking. Because at the end of the day, if I do something that's going to push me too hard in the beginning, I'll burn out. I'll stop running way too quickly. And so, next couple months came along. I found an amazing organization that I still work with to this day called Minding Your Mind, who raises money to educate children on the importance of speaking out about your mental health. Raised money for them to run the New York City Marathon. And next thing you know, it's November 5th, 2023. It's my 26th birthday, and I'm running the New York City Marathon. And I did it, and it's kind of just never looked back from there.
Which one did you cry more at? Cheering the year before, or cheering your girlfriend on, or running it the year for
I
yourself?
cried happy tears a lot more the year before cheering. I cried really painful, this is hard tears the year that I ran it. No, nobody will ever clue you in. I mean, I don't think there's a way to clue yourself in to how hard the first marathon is.
Yes.
Truly, it is. I think anytime you step up your distance, because the same thing happens when you jump up to a 50K, the same thing happens when you hit 50 miles. You don't understand the pain, the mental fortitude that you have to have, everything that all the components of it that go into it. Sure, you can do your 20-mile long run before your first marathon, but that last 10K is going to kick your ass like nothing you've ever experienced before, and it's gonna
It's
hurt.
so
And
true.
when when it's New York, it's hilly. You got over 1,000 feet of vert at that race. It's not nothing. And so yes, it's a party. Yes, you have so many people cheering you on, but also you're gonna see some demons that day. And
Yeah.
that it's all for the better. And truly every race after that is downhill.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, you were competitive at golf. I wanted to be the
Mhm.
best on the course, you would say. And so as you get into running and you listen to Kofuzi and you learn, like, I've got to actually walk, what was the competitive side in you saying? Was it competitive? Because you're still new to this. And so in my
Mhm.
mind, I'm envisioning like the golfer trying to transition into the runner who's going to be enjoying this hobby. So was it like a battle of personas in that moment? Like, be competitive, don't be competitive?
I don't think I've ever been competitive with running, which I think is like a very
Okay.
nice thing. I've always been very comfortable with walking, like whatever the pace is for that day. As long as I knew that I was putting out the best effort that day could present, I was very happy with it. And honestly, so many days in this sport are, if your best effort is you actually holding back, that's as just as important as, going out and competing during a, you know, 5K repeat session or something like that. Because
Yeah.
so many days you go out there and you feel fresh, you feel good, but you also know, if I ran fast today, I'm going to really hate myself when I'm at 17 miles on Saturday. So yeah, I think giving your all is taking into consideration that, some days your all is actually just a maintenance kind of pace that feels really good. And the win on the day is that you got home, you could bend over to untie your shoes and pet your dog and not have any soreness after you get out of the shower.
That's right.
Yeah, there she is. The muse.
That's awesome. The another question I wanted to ask you, after like scrolling through your Instagram posts recently, and you just mentioned the 50K, was you went to a race to pace a buddy, and you DNF'd, and they went on and crushed the event. And in your mind, did it even matter that you DNF'd, and just being there for your buddy was more important than anything else that could have?
Yeah, 100%. I knew going into that day that I didn't feel 100%. 50K is no joke. It's a lot of miles. And I had come off the weekend before where I ran a very, very fast 10-mile race that I was still definitely recovering from. I knew I felt good. Also, I love Chad and he's amazing. And I knew he could just do it on his own. Like, I didn't have to be out there for that second loop to encourage him the whole way. He was well on his way to, if anything, if I stayed out there with him, I was holding him back. So,
Right.
for his mental sake, my body's sake, and everything in between, I knew that it would be a much better experience for him if I let him just kind of take off after that first half and then I'd be there waiting for him at the end. And so he came out and he smashed that 50K in a way that, not too many people can do on their first trail ultra trail race. That was an impeccable performance and I'm so stoked for him. Not at all surprised, and I think that honestly just having the experience of being there for a friend was what made it all the better. And honestly, 16 miles is still 16 miles on the trail. So I had a great workout that day and got to the
Yep.
beers just a little bit earlier.
And by the way, his reaction to seeing you in the video that you shared was priceless. Like, he clearly didn't seem to have any idea that you were going to be there that day. And so when he saw you, it was just really cool to see his reception to your face. It was damn cool, dude.
Oh, I threw him off the scent too the night before. I sent him a long text like, "You're gonna crush it tomorrow, man. Get out there, do your thing." And then I had a good feeling he didn't know I was there. I was just glad he didn't check the race roster because I waited purposefully until the like literal minutes before like they closed the entry to submit my race entry and just
Yeah.
so he didn't know I was going to be on there. So that was exciting. I think that anytime I think in running you get so many opportunities to run with friends, support friends, do things, but anytime you can do it as a surprise, especially on race day, there's nothing better. I mean, if you can go out and support a friend, that is the best way to do it. And it really just elevates that first time experience. I think that anytime somebody's conquering a distance for the first time, there's so many nerves that go into it. So I think honestly, part of just being there and having the kind of knowledge that I have of the ultra marathon thing and like being like, all right, dude, you're ready for this. You've put all the tools to work. Let's just go and do it. I hope it helped ease his nerves a little bit too, because it's like ultra marathons are so there's something about them that's just like you can't prepare your mind for what you're about to embark on. So if somebody can put your kind of nerves to ease a little bit, I hope I was able to do that for him in that situation.
Who or what convinced you to do your first ultra then?
So the funny thing about my running journey too, and this is going back to kind of the YouTube thing and how I got started. So when I started this thing, I actually became really just enticed with ultras before. Like, yes, I knew that New York City was going to happen, and I knew that I wanted that to be the big first race. But I knew that I wanted to do ultras before I even took the starting line that day because I watched Eric Sensman's Cocodona 250 video early on in my running route or in my running journey. And it was so comforting to watch a professional runner walk, struggle, eat food,
Yeah.
jog a little bit, And I was like, dude, this guy's not sprinting. He's running 13-minute miles like I do. And there was something that I was able to connect with very quickly to the ultra scene in the sense that everything's just slowed down. Everything is at your own pace. The people that surround you seem super chill. And then also you're usually out in nature, which,
Yeah.
you can't beat just being in the trees or in the woods and following a single track trail for a long time. So I knew pretty early on, like probably like 3 or 4 months into my running journey, that I'm like, okay, the marathon thing is enticing, but the ultra marathon thing is where I want to end up, and that's kind of the cream of the crop for where I want to take this running journey. So I knew rather quickly that that was where I wanted to go. What was going to be the race? That was where, you know, anything could happen. And I luckily have such an amazing running community down in Philadelphia that I got hooked up with early on. And they put on this race right outside of Philly at Cooper River Park. It's a 8-hour ultra marathon that you run a 3.8-mile loop for 8 hours and just see how far you can get. And I'm like, okay, well, I just finished New York in, I think I ran like 5:15 my first New York. And I was like, okay, well, I can do 6 more miles in under 8 hours. And this is a lot flatter than New York. So let's go and do our first 50K. And, if that means, walking half of it and, really just jogging the rest, well, that's what we'll do. But we have 8 hours to try and complete the 31.2 miles or whatever it is. And so
Right.
that's what I did. And that was the least intimidating way to get into ultra marathoning, hitting your first 50K distance. There's just a time you go around in a circle. You don't have to carry all of your stuff,
Yep.
and you just see how far the day takes you. And I was able to do my 30, I think it ended up being like 32 miles in about 7.5 hours. And now it's my favorite race I do every year because it's the one that just brings me back to where it all started. So last year it unfortunately got canceled due to the conditions. It's called the Frosty Looper for a reason. It is the last week of the year, just about every year, just right around Christmas time. And so with that comes the potential for all of the sidewalks being iced over like it was last year. But the year before that, I was able to run an extra 8 miles on top of what I did the year before and run just over 40 miles. So it's like the race really lends you to having the day that you feel it in your legs to have. You can go out there and run one loop if you want. You could do 3 miles over
Yeah.
8 hours, and you know what? You still ran the race because at the end of the day, it's as long as you complete one loop, you have finished the race.
I'll have to connect you to an athlete that I coach and his wife, Jake and Laura Birch, who run the Frosty Looper themselves. And so we had Jake ready to go for last year's event, and then he was like,
Mhm.
"Dude, won't be running this event this year." And I was so bummed for him.
Yeah, that was disappointing, especially when it happens the day or like
Yeah.
night before. It's
Yeah.
like, you try and hold out hope as long as you can. And what they do with Endless Endurance is the company that puts it on, and they do the Loopy Looper in the summer, which is like the hottest
Yep.
day of the year. And then they also do this race called the Great 6 Day, which is 6 days around the track there at Cooper River Park, which is insane. That is bonkers. But I also kind of want to do it. So maybe one day. But what the team is doing at Endless Endurance is really, really amazing for just kind of the Mid-Atlantic, East Coast ultra marathon scene because, there are crazy people outside of the desert that want to run a lot of miles and, don't want to leave that kind of tri-state area.
Yep. It's a cool event, and a lot of other areas are incorporating these looped events to get more and more people into these sports. Joe Harden, who is on our leadership team for our company, is the RD for Odd Duck Running, and
Mm.
he has an 8-hour 1 mile loop event in Lebanon, Indiana, in October that will be going. And he held it last year for the first time, and so many people PR'd in distances, PR'd in times that, and they told him, like, under a different circumstance, this wouldn't happen. So thank you for providing this type of opportunity. And I think what you said is correct. It lends itself to allowing people to discover the sport in whatever way they want to discover the sport. One loop in 8 hours, cool. 40 miles in 8 hours, also cool. And I think that's how we can get more and more people into running without feeling like this pressure that they have to be 3:30 marathons or immediately racing Cocodona 250 on day one. Like, there's so much in between that we can get
So
you
much.
involved in ours.
Yeah, and I also think that so much of the loops thing is like, so many people worry about chasing cutoffs, especially when you're getting your first mountain race under your belt. Like cutoffs sometimes on paper look really, really easy to hit, but then you get out there and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
I got to run for my life right now actually to make sure I get there. And that's so scary, especially if you're doing that for your first race. And then also the nice thing
Yeah.
about the loop, like I said, you don't have to carry your stuff. That's so much less management in general than if you are worrying about carrying gels, carrying a water bottle, having a water station, an aid station. Those are all parts of races that definitely keep people away from longer distances because they don't want to have to think about them. But if it kind of takes it out of the equation altogether, and you can just hit your own personal aid station every loop, yeah, great. Mindless. Go have fun. Go have a day.
New York was a highlight. You were like, I want to do this race. You told your buddy when your girlfriend was running it, and it was a highlight race. Are there other races that are highlight races for you that you haven't done, that you have on like a whiteboard? Like, I want to do this race at some point.
Cocodona, since that's like the A race. That's the one day. But I recognize that that is a decade away. Maybe even longer. I don't know. That race will come when it comes, but like even when I was at JFK 50 this last year, when I was at like mile 40, I was like, and I had planned to try and do my first 100 towards the back end of this year. I was like, dude, I'm not ready for 100. It just, that's a whole nother beast that I am not prepared for. I think so much of this sport takes so much self-reflection and so much
Yeah.
understanding of your own limits. And sometimes we glamorize it way too much online. I shouldn't even just say sometimes. I think any race recap that goes on Instagram that you run, 50 plus miles and the video is less than 2 minutes long looks way too sexy because there's so many elements of that race that just you don't get to see. And so it looks a lot more approachable than it actually is. And so I try and stress that anytime that I run an ultra marathon, that like this is a very difficult thing and we can't just jump into these things. Sure, it looks really great online, but yeah, give yourself 5 years to jump up to whatever that maybe 100-mile distance is or 250 distances or whatever. So Cocodona is the one that's on the board. I honestly think I might have ran my favorite race I've ever run last weekend with the Fenway Park Marathon because it's like all of my favorite things in one. Other than that, I'm not like I have a couple more stars to get for my majors, but I'm not exactly it's not that I'm not eager to go get them, but it's not like I'm breaking any doors to go and get them. I think that one of the things that I realized last year I ran the Atlantic City Marathon is that I'm actually really enjoying these small marathons that are kind of
Yeah.
off the grid a little bit, where I don't have to worry about people touching me on the side of the road like you do in New York, where you're kind of in your own zone and you just go and you have a day and maybe a couple hundred people also did it with you, but it's not necessarily the streets are packed for all 26.2 miles. Now, don't get me wrong, those races are amazing and they're a lot of fun and they're amazing experiences. And I'm running New York again next year. But at the same time, if I'm going and I want to really try and, push myself a little bit, have a good time, and just kind of take in the whole environment, I think that the smaller races are calling to me. And I think that's also another reason why I just love the ultra thing because, a lot less people are on the trails and you get to kind of be with yourself and have a good time.
Yeah, so one of the things that we're doing is we have started a uh, run club tour, and we've gone to small races. The Oakland Marathon's got like 11,000 participants with half marathon and full marathon. I think the full marathon had less than 1,000 out of those 11,000. And so it's really cool to be in that running scene with not having just bucket loads of people around you. And almost being able to hear every person yelling clearly, audibly, right? They're cheering for you,
Yeah.
and that's really cool.
Yeah, my
One of the things
friend
that
May ran Oakland last year, and she said it was a blast.
such a great race. I had so much fun at that event. And so I'm going to ask you to put this on your whiteboard. So the event, one of the events that we're looking at doing next year is in your neck of the woods, which is the Cape Cod Marathon. And that's got about 5,000-ish runners. So even smaller than Oakland, but it's on our list for consideration for the Run Club Tour next year.
I have heard great things. I've had multiple friends run it. They all say it's amazing. I've never considered running a marathon on Cape Cod because we've done the Falmouth Road Race, and
Yep.
that feels like you run enough of Cape Cod, but I would happily do a marathon on Cape Cod. Yeah.
If and when Cocodona comes to fruition for you, whether it's in the next year or the next 10 years, put me on the list to help you out. I ran it the inaugural year. And while I don't have like this burning desire to redo it, I would happily pace and crew people to do it, and help them to achieve the same finish line that I experienced back in 2021. Because it is a life-changing event for sure.
It really seems like it, and I'm stoked that it has become the thing that it's become. I think that it's great that more people know about ultra marathoning. I think watching Rachel do what she did this year was just mind blowing, and meeting her in person a couple weeks ago was the coolest thing ever. Um, and like, I think that, I just hope that this long dream I've had doesn't ever get where they're like, oh, this stupid influencer got into Cocodona. Cause I'm like, damn, like I've always loved this race. I just want to go run it for myself. Like I don't want the anyone to think that I'm just trying to chase that thing that like the next influencer is trying to do.
Well, with that as a segue, I wanted to ask you about the influencer thing because your journey into running was 2 feet in, running 1,000 miles right out of the gate. My girlfriend ran New York City Marathon. I thought it was impressive, and I cried, and I said here, and you went and chased it. So with the influencing thing, like tracking your running journey, the idea that influence, not, and I'm not getting into brand representation, but influence other people to get into running, and then the brand representation we talk about in a second. But was that sort of like the idea for tracking your running journey on social media?
Oh, this was never supposed to be the way. This was never supposed to be a thing. No, I started making the videos, so it was 2023, I guess, by the time I started making the videos. And at the January 1, 2023, I made a New Year's resolution that I would make one single friend in Boston. So we had just moved to Boston the year before. I spent a whole year with zero friends. And so I was like, this year I will make a friend. And people don't tell you this, but when you turn like whatever I was at the time, like 25 or whatever, and you work remotely and you move to a new city, it's very difficult to make friends. And like you don't really know where to start. And I didn't have a hobby at the time. I wasn't going out and doing things. So I said I want to make one single friend, and this running thing was new to me. So I was like, all right, I will make a video and I will talk about myself. I'll talk about being a bigger, slower runner who loves the Grateful Dead. And surely somebody else in this city will see that and they'll want to be my friend. And so I made a handful of videos, and then 3 videos in, one of them accidentally does like some absurd amount of views. And then next thing I know, I'm making a lot of videos, and it kind of took off, and people were resonating with being a bigger, slower runner, or just like a kind of more normal guy, I guess, not mentally, but physically. And so, the thing, it took off. And so like at the time I was only making TikToks. I didn't even have an Instagram at the time. And yeah, I mean, what are we like 3 years later? I've really kind of cultivated this kind of weird community that I've got in the most amazing way. Like I love I love what it's become because it's given me the opportunity to, like you said, influence people, get people to start running, get people to start running shirtless, get people to eat donuts when they run, do all the silly shit that I do, and realize that it's actually totally cool to do that stuff and just be yourself while really kind of just trying to rip this sport that we do.
Yeah. So has the mindset changed in what you're presenting to the audience? Because if it's, I want to make one friend, presumably you have more than one friend in Boston now.
I got a couple of them.
Does
Yeah.
it, yeah, I got a few. How does that change? Or is it still, I want to make one, like the mindset of what I'm recording today and what I'm talking about is so that I can make one friend in Boston as sort of like the motto for what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's changed in the sense that like I'm not necessarily searching for friends now, but like I get to make friends through the
Yeah.
videos that I'm making. So it's more like um let me just talk about myself or share the feelings that I'm having while also just showing off how I do what I do. And if people vibe with that, they come out to Run Club and we become friends. It's less
Yeah.
hunting for friends and more just like kind of, here's how I operate, and if that resonates with you in any way, I'm sure we'll hit it off. Come on out.
And I will preface this by saying I do this often, that I will get a DM or a text message or an email, and I'll think to myself, I cannot believe that this thing that I started 6 years ago has had this kind of impact on this particular person and whatever their message is. You ever have those moments where you just sit back and you're like, holy shit, I cannot believe that I wanted to make a single friend. I recorded a single video, and now I get to talk to people and share stories, and we're vulnerable with each other, and we're open and honest. And like that human connection is well beyond just like a little box on Instagram.
Every single day. It's it's insane. I mean, we were just out for a run and 4 or 5 people were just like, "Yo, Herm, what's up?" And nothing to it. We're all homies out there, but it's like, yeah, you have to pinch yourself. Dude, I was running on freaking Fenway Park the other day. Like I literally a couple times just stopped, like put my arm on the green, like touched the green monster and was just like, how the hell did I get here? Like what puzzle pieces in my life did I put together to be in this exact moment? And then the most amazing part of the night was my final lap. They let me bring my family and friends out with me,
Oh,
and
no
to
shit.
literally run around the warning track side by side with my mother. My mother is a 162 game a year Red Sox fan. She watches every inning. The Red Sox could be losing 15-1, and they bring Greg Weissert into the game, and she will be screaming at the television. Like, she is as diehard as it gets. So to have her there next to me and to do that final lap, it's like, what the fuck what did I do to
That
deserve
is so
this?
cool.
This
I
is
will,
like the greatest moment of my entire life.
I would guarantee your mother either watched this game or was at the game. It had to be about 20 years ago. I went to game like 154, Red Sox Royals. Both teams are absolutely horrendous. Stadium was packed. Red Sox fans cheering on every single pitch, even though both teams sucked. The game could have gone 0-0 for 47 innings. And I think people still would have been in their seats cheering. That's the passion Red Sox fans have. And I'm not sure people really fully, truly understand that.
No, and you know what? It's funny that you say that. I might have actually been in that game about 20 years ago, probably like what, 2006 this area. I remember coming to Boston for a
Yeah.
back end of the season because people also don't realize how expensive Red Sox tickets used to be. So, like, for a
Yes.
family of 4 to go to a Red Sox game before, let's say 2020, let's say pre-pandemic even, it wasn't a simple feat. So like between hockey tournaments, baseball tournaments, and coming up to the Red Sox, we would come to those back end of the season games. And I remember vividly coming to a Royals series like last week of the season. That would be hilarious if I was there. But it's true. The Red Sox Nation is the most amazing, worst community you could ever be a part of. And I will say we have turned on our owner, and so the seats are not quite selling like they used to, which I'm totally cool with. Stop giving this guy money.
Yep.
And I took great advantage of it for the first 4 years that we lived here, though, because we haven't been good really since I moved here.
Yeah.
And so Yankees series 2 years ago, or yeah, 2 years ago, like game like 158 through 162, and we were out of it. I was sitting behind home plate for $15 a night. It was amazing. We could suck every year if I can sit behind home plate for $15. But at the same time, my heart will be broken. And back to that therapist thing we were talking about earlier. I talk far too often to my therapist about how much the Red Sox truly control my
I
mental
love it.
health. And it's the worst because I'm also a diehard Eagles fan. So it's like
Oh,
24/7, 365. There are two teams in this world that will either make or break my day. And
yep.
I will genuinely be happy or sad because of those sports teams.
It's amazing. I feel the same way as a Mets fan. Like they have not been good, right, for basically my entire life outside of '86 and a couple of other World Series appearances. But every, end of March, beginning of April, MLB, here's my $150. I got to watch every single Met game. And
Yep.
most of the seasons, by the end of May, I'm done with them. Like I can't watch this team. They stink. They got a record of 20-40 now. It's just amazing.
And it sucks too for you. I'll give you this because you at least have an owner who wants you to be the best team that the MLB has ever seen. I mean, Cohen, that guy, he will
Yeah.
spend any money that it takes for the Mets to win a World Series, and it just doesn't pan out ever. And I
Never.
feel horrible for you. At least John Henry doesn't give a shit for us. Like, he truly doesn't care whether we succeed or not. As long as Liverpool's winning, he is a happy camper. So it's like, that's an actually frustrating thing, whereas yours is like genuine heartbreak. He went out and got Juan Soto. He went out and he got, arms
He's
for the
spending money
bullpen.
everywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
he
throwing
spends
money
money
like,
everywhere.
and it just doesn't click. And for that I feel bad.
Who's your audience? We're clearly switching over from running to baseball. So stick with us through the next 10 minutes or so because this will be a fun conversation. Favorite Red Sox player of all time?
Pedro Martinez, without a doubt.
Yes.
I think, and also you can appreciate him from being a Mets fan, right?
Exactly. I can also
You
appreciate
know,
him throwing Don Zimmer to the ground. So let's,
that
I
too.
I hate the Yankees, so I'm all in on Pedro.
Hell yeah. Yeah. Pedro is, I mean, just growing up and watching Pedro pitch was like everything I could have ever imagined, ever wanted, ever could be. And he was just so fun, man. Like, you knew
Yes.
every fifth day, Pedro would get on the mound, he'd go through 8, 9 innings, and you'd have an opportunity to win that ball game. And that was everything, I ever dreamed of as a kid. And I love that guy to death.
And I will tie this into running in a very loose way. You said that he was fun, he was having fun on the mound. And I think that's why he excelled at the sport of baseball because he was enjoying himself, right?
Hmm.
You could get, we've all seen the ball player who just beats himself up because it has an over 4 night. Next thing you know, he's in a month-long slump. Or the pitcher who's just missing the corners. And next thing you know, he's throwing pitches over the batters' heads because he's frustrated. Pedro had fun out there, and I think that was a key to his success on the mound for the Red Sox and for the Mets. Even at the tail end of his career with the Mets, he was still dominating the league.
Oh yeah, at no point was he a below league average, which is remarkable. And you know what? That's what I was having a good conversation during the WBC about this, and I'm like, you want to know why we're loving watching the Puerto Rican team play, the Mexican team play, the Dominican team play, why the Venezuelan team play? Because they just have fun, man. They're
Yes.
not this fucking business like USA team that
Right.
thinks that the world owes them something, man. They're playing this game that you play as a kid. You bat flip on people, you dance a little bit, you have a good time. That's how this game is supposed to be played. Why do you think people hate baseball? Because it's boring when it's just a bunch of boring people out
Yes.
there going to the office, treating it like it's the most important thing to ever happen in our life. No, at the end of the day, these are just grown men playing a kid's game. And if you're not having fun with it, then man, get the fuck out.
I don't know if you saw this. They're playing the College World Series right now.
Hmm.
Exactly. At the College World Series, the University of Georgia is playing Liberty University, and the kid for UGA crushes a pitch. And he starts rounding first base and he's celebrating, and they threw him out of the game for over celebration of a home run. And I was like, what's happening here? These are 18 to 20-year-old kids. Let them have fun.
Oh. Jason, I think I lost you. I don't think this is my end.
There you go.
There you go.
I don't know if you heard me when I was talking about the
Yes.
kids playing for the University of Georgia.
Yeah. So, okay. So that clip was everywhere today. That nothing frustrates me more than people making baseball not fun anymore.
Right.
And that is an exact moment. And of course they're playing Liberty of all teams.
Of all teams.
Of all teams. We used to scrimmage them. I went to a D3 school and we used to beat them too. Because like they were kind of close by. And so yeah, that was absolutely abysmal. I mean, that kind of brings me that I think that's why baseball too is like, so many kids get out of it because coaches are like,
Yeah.
don't let kids be kids.
Yep.
I had plenty of examples of that growing up. And so it's very apparent that kids are getting out of many sports because the parents, the coaches, the umpires, referees they're taking this sport that is supposed to be fun and turning it into something that's very not fun.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We have 10 minutes. I want to save some time for our rapid fire food questions. So a few months ago, I said the one thing that I would love to see baseball bring back is the elimination of the designated hitter. I prefer to see double switches. I prefer to see sacrifice bunts. I prefer to see double steals. I prefer to see more strategy in the game than a designated hitter going up there and striking out 7 out of 10 times and maybe hitting a home run 1 out of 3. You said that was a conversation it was worth having on this podcast. So I'm going to open the floor to you, who I presume is pro DH.
Well, you're eliminating the thing we're talking about, fun. I mean, pitchers hitting is not fun. It's sure. The funny and ironic thing about this conversation is that the best pitcher in the league, Paul Skeens, could actually probably bat like 320 with 10 to 15 home runs and 50 RBIs because he was one of the
Nolan
best.
McLean in there too.
And Nolan McLean, yes. Like guys that actually hit in college that could actually are athletic enough that probably could swing it in the league for a little bit. So they kind of hurt my argument. But I do think that I think what we're missing, though, is true DHs. I don't think that we have enough people that are like a David Ortiz, a Vernon Wells, a David Wells, or any of these just big guys that go up there and all they do is crush home runs. And so that is where I would begin my argument. I think that we need to raise a new generation of DHs who go up there. Sure, they bat like 270 and their on base percentage is absolutely abysmal, but they hit 50 home runs a year. And so I think that, and that's what people, yeah, Adam Dunn. Yes, exactly. So like the people who bring people and put them in the stands. I think that if Joey Votto could come back and just hit for the Reds, honestly, that might be the missing part of their lineup. So it's like get people excited about home runs again. But I don't need to ever see a pitcher wearing a jacket on the bases ever again in my entire life. I think, however, I do think there is a level of strategy that we miss. And I wish that the MLB and so many teams would get back to playing small ball, taking bases, and truly like playing the game the way. But also, I think that I think we should have home plate collisions and guys sliding into second base hard again too. That I understand is a very unpopular opinion, but it's like that's the game that we played. And I know it's very boomer of me, but like bring back some gritty baseball.
But bat flips, like I want the bat to end up like two sections high.
Throw it in the seats.
Yeah, celebrate the hell out of it. You know the Uribe kid that basically did the DX thrush chop to the
Yep.
Brewers
Oh,
the other,
why
to
is he
the Reds the other
suspended?
day.
Stupidest thing ever. Have you ever
Right,
made
like
it down to the Puerto Rican Summer or Winter League?
I have not.
Oh my God. That you'll get
Gotta
all
go.
of it. Yeah, gotta go.
I was going to ask you a question. Oh, your favorite Red Sox DH then over all the years as a fan, who has been your favorite Red Sox player who was bad at DH? Now, David Ortiz was a clear DH, but Manny got in there a couple of times, and Garcia probably hit DH every now and again. But
I mean, it's got to be Big Papi. I mean, I was
yeah,
there in 2013 for the Grand Slam. I mean, like all of everything he did in 2004. I mean, I think that if you look at his postseason numbers alone, he's like the greatest postseason hitter of all time. I don't think he ever struck
yep,
out or even got out, let alone, just, doing something less than immaculate in the postseason. So it would have to be Big Papi. I will say, though, there is a very, very warm place in my heart for Manny Ramirez, and I don't think that he will ever get the love in which he deserves. I do think he gets a ton of love, but I do think that, like, at the end of the day, that guy was the greatest hitter the Red Sox might have ever had besides Ted Williams. I
yeah,
mean, that was another lucky thing. I was there for his 500th home run. Like, I got to, as a kid, go to a lot of really cool Red Sox games, and
that's
like
awesome.
Manny was my guy because going back to it, fun, man. Manny being Manny.
Yeah,
Who's a
the
left
high
fielder
five.
cutting off a center fielder? The high five to throw out Kevin Millar at second base. I mean, this guy was unheard of. No, he was the most unhinged baseball player I think will ever see. Even that's including like some of these other guys that are pretty unhinged, like Tatis and Soto right now. But
Yeah,
like Manny being Manny that's an
was
iconic time of my life.
go really quick, going back to the whole, let's go back to small ball, and it reminded me of a team that I absolutely fucking hated as a kid growing up, and that was the mid 80s Cardinals. I hated Tommy Herr. I hated Willie McGee. I hated Vince Coleman. I absolutely hated every person. Whitey Herzog, fuck off. Like, I hated that whole team. Do you have, and I presume it's going to be a Yankees team, but is there a team that you're like, man, I hate everything about them, including the Bat Boy?
I mean, yes, every Yankees team between like 97 and 2000. Any Yankees team with A-Rod and Jeter on it. Derek Jeter is the most overrated shortstop of all time. Go look at his
Yes.
defensive metrics just once and you're like, how did this guy even make it in the why is the city of New York obsessed with this guy? He genuinely sucks. They would have been better off with Anthony Volpe out there. So there are those teams, yes. And then there's also the 2000 and I want to say 2011 Rays, and I think that the Red Sox fought them about 9 times that year. It seemed like there was so many bench clearing brawls. Absolutely hated them at the time, and then there were just players that I hated outside of that. There was never
Yeah.
full teams. I think that it's like one of the greatest things and one of the worst things that happened to the league. They're all tight now. Like everybody's homies, everybody's friends.
Yep.
So like we don't really have these great rivalries. And that's what's been really brutal about the Red Sox and Yankees thing recently. Cause like I you couldn't pay me $1 million to put a Yankees hat on my head. And then we got this kid Cam Schlittler coming out here who just claims to be the biggest Boston fan of all time. He's just diehard Boston, but then shoves it up our ass in the playoffs last year. Like, dude, you are, and he's like, I'm gonna come home for Bruins season this year. No, like, stay away, leave. So yeah, that kid can go all the way back to Southie and just stay there, I guess.
Dude, we could have a whole entire baseball podcast
We
episode
could.
without a doubt, easily. But I'm going to transition us over to food, which is another topic that you and I both love. And so I call these rapid fire food questions, but dude, feel free to take time to answer them. Oreos. When you go to the store to get Oreos, are you looking at the OG, the double stuff, the loaded, the Cakester, the thin, the gluten-free, the blonde? What's the package you're picking up first?
Yeah, you hit my I thought was a very niche answer, the thin. I've been very into the thin, not because I'm trying to lose weight or anything. Still eat the whole pack of them, but the thin seems to be the most proportionally correct Oreo now, where I feel like they've really reduced the amount of cream on the original Oreo and
Yep.
exponentially grown the cookie, which really threw off the kind of balance there. So the thin has been what I've been working with the most recently. And I mean, I will admit there's been times in my life where I've eaten Oreos like their cereal, just like take half the pack, put it in a bowl and cover it in milk and then just take a spoon to it. So the thin would be the move for that for sure.
Tiramisu, mint, or a different flavor on the thin?
Oh, just regular. Yeah, no, I don't
Okay.
think if I'm being so honest, I don't think I've ever had I think I'm lying. I think we got like Selena Gomez Oreos once, but outside of that, I don't think I've ever had a non-traditional Oreo.
Well, if I can help you out with that, here's how I would rank them. I would rank the blueberry pie. So OG the original flavor is always number one, but the blueberry pie would be number two, and then the third one would be the s'moreos. Those three, if you can get your hands on those three, you're going to be smiling from ear to ear.
I've never even heard of the two of those, so I'll have
Yeah,
to do a little research.
yeah, you'll be in seventh heaven. Favorite flavor
Okay.
of ice cream?
Mm, salted cookies and cream. And very
Ooh,
specifically from this, there's a little micro creamery. I forget what the actual name of it is here in Cambridge. And yeah, I do a little salted cookies and cream hot brownie sundae. That is my go-to order.
ooh. Favorite pie?
Ooh, that depends on the time of year and the mood. I think that I only eat pumpkin pie during the Thanksgiving time frame, but I eat a lot of it in that like kind of 3 to 4 days surrounding the holiday. Um, but I do love like very like what are they called? Like maybe it's like a triple chocolate mousse pie with like an Oreo crust. Yeah, that's like kind of
Oof.
any time of year I'll rip that.
Are you a PB&J guy?
Yeah, yeah, big PB&J guy. Had one for lunch.
So how do you I love it. How do you make your peanut butter and jelly? Do you go jelly on one side, peanut butter on the other, smash it together? Or do you go peanut butter and then jelly on the same side and then smash it together?
That is psychotic if anyone does that. No, I'll tell you exactly what I do. I go sourdough in the toaster, toast it up, peanut butter, specifically Teddy's peanut butter up here in New England, on one side, and then strawberry jam on the
Yep.
other piece of toast, because if you put it on over the peanut butter, that is truly insane.
I'm in the insane category because I do the
You
I do
do
it on the
that?
same slice of bread. So
What do you do with the
yeah,
knife?
yeah.
Does it just gets all gross?
You
Ew.
lick the
No,
knife and then
man.
take a napkin, wipe it off, and then
No.
so with sourdough though, so the sourdough loaf isn't like a square slice of bread. So because it's a little
Mhm.
arched, half circle. So then you just cut it in half, or do you just eat the whole thing? No.
No cut. Yeah, I go in for the whole shebang. It's pretty bougie peanut butter and jelly. Gotta
When
have
we're
a
talking
toaster around.
sandwiches, I love it. Outside of the peanut butter and jelly, favorite type of sandwich? What's going in between two slices of bread for you?
Cheesesteak. Cheesesteak is like my favorite food category as a whole. Growing up right outside of Philly, I'm surrounded by amazing cheesesteak spots, and so I'm very, very well acquainted with, uh, American wit, as we would say, down that way.
Yeah. We know that pineapple is not going on the pizza, but what is going on the pizza?
Ooh, depends on the day once again. I so where I went to high school is this little town called Heightstown, New Jersey, that had this place called Menino's. And they had two pizzas that were my go-to. One was a penne vodka pizza. It had penne vodka on top of
Ooh.
the dough. And then the other was a buffalo chicken pizza that just was to die for. Unbelievable. So those will be my two kind of slices.
I like it. Last question for you. A tray of brownies has come out of the oven. It's sitting on the counter long enough that you can cut it without making it a total mess. Are you going corner? Are you going edge? Or are you going into the middle for the straight up ooey gooey?
Yep, straight up ooey gooey. We're gonna just take a cookie cutter, drop it right in the middle, pull it up, put in my bowl with a little ice cream, and we'll have a day.
Are you going salted cookies and cream ice cream on top of the brownie, or a different type of flavor?
That I would happily do that, or a vanilla, or like a peanut butter, or a coffee. Anything that pairs nicely with an ooey gooey brownie.
Yeah, I'm down with the coffee, because if you put it in a mug and the ice cream, if you don't eat it fast enough, which has never happened to me, but a little bit does melt.
Apparently it
You
happens.
get a little bit of like,
Yep.
Yeah, you get a little bit of a mocha taste to it, which is always phenomenal.
Yep.
Are the brownies going to have nuts on them, or are you sans nuts on the brownies?
I'm sans nuts on the brownies. It's not that I have anything against nuts in the brownies. I'll still eat them, but I would prefer just chocolate.
I love it. Herm, where can we find you, not just on the internet, but where are you going to be next? Shakeout runs, so that people can come and hang out with you.
Yeah, so I am actually running in New York City. This is coming out the 9th, so 5 days after. So this Sunday, I will be running in New York City around Central Park. It's going to be day one of a week for the world, which is an amazing thing put on by my homie Kenny to raise money for environmental awareness. So he will be running 7 marathons in 7 days around Central Park. I will just be there day one running a slow marathon around Central Park. And then after that, we're going to be in Mammoth for the 50K in the fall, and then New York City. So we're going to have a pretty fun fall, but the summer's going to be pretty quiet. We're going to do a lot of training.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate your time. I appreciate the baseball conversation and the food conversation. We'll have to have you back again, maybe as we get closer to the New York City Marathon, because I will be there as well with our Everyday Athlete Run Club tour. So we can hang out and chit chat and talk about how much we hate the Yankees.
Absolutely. You know, I love talking about that.
I appreciate you, Herm. Have a good one, man.
Take care.
For those of you that stuck around for the last hour or so, appreciate you doing that. Herm is a great guest, great story of how he got into running, how the influencing thing got started as well. Check him out, herm.runs on Instagram. He's got great content. He will make you feel like you can do it too. And that's really what the most important part of all of our running journeys are, is to keep bringing people along. Again, disclaimer, I'm supposed to do this. Subscribe, rate, review the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network on your favorite podcast platform or on YouTube. And we will see you again next week on the next episode of the Fireside Chat. Have a great one, everybody.